Well, a very good morning and welcome to this episode of the topical discussion, where this morning our focus will be on what is trending. The big spotlight now is on the Gulu parliamentary sitting. Quite a number of legislators have already set foot in Gulu ahead of tomorrow's meeting. It's going to be 2 days of deliberations in Gulu as part of the ongoing rotation, regional parliamentary sittings. Well, the idea has been greeted with mixed reactions. The leader of opposition in parliament and a section of MPs have vowed to boycott, while other legislators have said this is an opportunity to touch base with community and take parliament to the people. We want to weigh in on what is at the heart of the debate. Well, this morning I have two guests in the studio, and we'll also be speaking to two legislators. Benson Ongom will be catching up with two legislators who will be speaking to us from Gulu. Let me first catch up with Benson. Benson, what's the mood like ahead of tomorrow's sitting? And besides what's on the agenda, what is remarkable so far?
Simon, I think what is remarkable so far is that the regional parliament is starting from Gulu, but again, the history of this place being a war-torn area 20 years ago, looking at our journey and transformation as a city and as a region. It's remarkable. Again, many people have had different narrative on this regional parliament coming into the north. But if you ask me about the mood, I think the excitement is there. The business people are, of course, overwhelmed by the numbers. I can tell you from the hotels we were yesterday, they were fully booked. The different narratives from other legislators. Of course, we have had the leader of opposition saying this is waste of money. We have also had some legislators from other regions saying we will not attend, especially from the opposition. But also we have had the majority members of parliament saying we will be able to attend the regional parliamentary sitting. Again, from the venue, Kaunda Ground, it's all set. The tents have been erected already. We are seeing the last tent probably for Speaker or the President is also being erected. But joining me this morning, Simon, is the woman member of Parliament for Moro District, Honorable Catherine Lamwara, but also the host for the regional parliament, Badege Layibi member of Parliament, Honorable Jara Martin Mapendis this morning. But let me start with Honorable Catherine Lamwara. Again, the entire activity today starts with Omoro District, because you understand the Speaker will lay wreath on the grave of the late Right Honourable Speaker Jacob Oulanyah, and then there will be. Just take us through a bit on that.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, viewers. I am very pleased that this morning we are looking at the programs for the day as we start on with the sitting of Parliament in Northern Region. First of all, I'm very grateful that with the peace now prevailing, a lot is happening and we are able to host such a big sitting of the National Assembly of the Republic of Uganda. Well, the program starts today with Omoro District, where the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament is visiting Omoro and will be visiting the resting place of the late Jacob Oulanyah, the former Speaker of Parliament. We are expecting her home by around 10 to 11 o'clock in the morning, and the people are very excited, Benson, and our dear viewers, very excitedly waiting for her. And of course, on arrival home, we shall have some short prayers and she'll be able to lay a wreath on the tomb. And of course, we expect her also after that, at least to interact with the family a little, and she'll be able to proceed to Lalogi headquarters, the local government headquarters, where she's going to officially open Omoro, launch Omoro FM radio. And people are very excited for this activity. And you know, we have been waiting for long for this radio to come on air. Many of you could remember very well that during the time when the late Jacob Oulanyah passed on, these are some of the activities that he had initiated to have the people be able to access information. He started, established a building and was, of course, in the process already of putting up a radio there for the people of Omoro District and the whole region. And right now, as we speak, the radio is already on. It's covering almost about 9 districts by its coverage. And today we expect the Right Honorable Anita Among, the Speaker of the Republic of Uganda, to officially launch this radio. After that, she'll be able to address a big rally in Lalogi, where the community are already gathering right now as I speak, waiting for her, and of course, very anxiously waiting for her message to the population in Omoro district. And then probably she'll be able to proceed to Gulu, where we'll host the main sitting of Parliament of Uganda. So generally in Omoro, I want to really let viewers know that people are very excited about this regional sitting of Parliament in Acholi sub-region, Gulu district, which is our main city, Gulu city. And it is, of course, an approach that is bringing Parliament closer to the people. And of course, as we remember the late Jacob Oulanyah also today, you all agree with me, dear viewers, that one of the things that Jacob was speaking very, very passionately about was the issue of having a people-centered parliament. And when we see the speaker going home to pay respect, and when we see Parliament coming to sit in Acholi sub-region, in Gulu, when we see Parliament moving regionally to sit in regions, we believe that now what Jacob Oulanyah was dreaming about is being actualized. And we are proud of this.
I'm coming back to you on that specific. Let me get to Honorable Jara Martin Mapinduzi. Honorable Jara Martin Mapinduzi, the narrative out there, I remember you sat in one of the press conferences held in Parliament, but even up to yesterday, the leader of opposition is saying, look, this is waste of money. Talk to us through about this, but also I want you to address the issue of you sitting also as Acholi parliamentary group, because by even yesterday, you haven't sat to agree on some of the position and issues that you'll be able to raise tomorrow as Parliament kicks off here.
You know, what I see from the leader of the opposition, I can term as dishonesty, but also I think it's being diversionary. Because first we need to know that this is not the first time the leader of the opposition is calling for boycott. I have seen him call for boycott at the time when Parliament was sitting at Kololo. You know, during the budget speech, during the State of the Nation's address, he called for boycott. I have also seen several boycotts, you know, in Parliament, you know, in Kampala. And so, but I think this one is where I term it as dishonest, but also diversionary, is that is using a strategy to you know, provoke the emotions of the people by, you know, instigating that this is going to be a waste of taxpayers, you know, money, which is unfortunate, because there are basic questions you need to ask. What was the budget for Parliament last financial year? It was about, I think it should be about 900 billion. And there was no regional sitting, and still Parliament spent whatever it was, you know, appropriated for it. Again, this financial year, what is the budget of Parliament? Again, it's still about 900 billion. So whether there is a parliamentary sitting, I mean regional parliamentary sitting or not, Parliament has a budget, and that budget will have to be spent by Parliament. So when, and then when you ask Honorable Joel to give you the breakdown of the 5 billion he's talking about, he doesn't present it. So it's purely a political strategy, probably for their own survival, for those who want to create this as, you know. So it's, and I have seen many Ugandans, you know, falling in for that, saying, you know, Parliament is going to spend 20 billion and so. But, you know, they cannot provide the breakdown. It's a lie. It's diversionary, but it's also a political strategy to justify the boycott. But for me, I know, even without talking about the money, Honorable Joel would still not come, because it's on record that he tries not to attend any formal sittings or gathering of Parliament where the President attends. So this is, it's diversionary. It's unfortunate, because it's a lie that many Ugandans think it's true. But that is his business. And if Honorable Joel is not attending Parliament, or some opposition leaders are not attending Parliament, I have seen them in Parliament, in Kampala. Many people not attending Parliament, including the leader of the opposition. So it's not a new story.
And then, Honorable Jara Martin Mapinduzi, there's been an issue. Last year when you went to Barlegi, the presentation of the caucus from Lamu Parliamentary Group was quite different. Of course, there was a lot of critique that was given to Acholi Parliamentary Group. Up to yesterday, Honorable Jara Martin Mapinduzi, you have not sat down with your caucus and agreed on some of the position beside the regional issues that you have.
First, I really want to make it clear that it's the leaders of Acholi have been meeting severally, meeting, at different points to talk about the things that affect the people of Acholi sub-region generally. And so, yes, it's important that leaders meet regularly, but that doesn't mean we do not have issues, critical issues that affect the population. And so you shouldn't worry. There are a number of issues that I will give you a few examples. Recently, representative members of parliament from Acholi, Lao, West Nile, and Karamoja at a meeting here in Gulu, okay, where about 8 or 9 members of parliament from each region sat on behalf of the others to look at some of the critical issues. And this meeting brought several representatives from the Office of the Prime Minister, from the Operation Wealth Creation, from Minister of Finance, different groups. We sat and we looked at several issues. Again, we have also had several other consultations. And as I speak right now, local government leaders are coming to meet in Gulu, okay? They also have their position. So there are a number of issues that are going to be brought. But again, you also need to know that when the Honorable Dr. Kenneth Omona took over office, from last year, he had several meetings at sub-regional level. He called the members of parliament from Acholi, alone. We had meetings with him. We had several issues to look at. We came out with a number of issues that we need to pay special attention to. He had similar meetings with the Lao group, with Karamoja, with West Nile. So if you are talking about meetings to look at issues, and we have had several meetings and a number of issues, so that should not worry you. But you also need to know that, yes, this parliamentary sitting is going to give a special focus on northern Uganda. But it's also going to look at Uganda as a whole. So it is an opportunity for leaders from northern Uganda to position themselves and bring out some of these issues.
I'll definitely come back to you before I go to Simon. But let me ask Honorable Catherine Namara. The issue of nodding syndrome, which has been key, I think it was championed by the late speaker. Personally, as a journalist, and I think also as a member of parliament, you have been able to visit some of the issues now being raised. For example, APA, I think there are different committees of parliament that has gone to APA and has given recommendation on how to deal with the question of APA. And people are asking, how different will it be? Nodding Syndrome Center, the 2 centers in Acholi sub-region, the one that is in your constituency in Odek, the one that is in Temangu in Kitgum, they're all dead at the moment. Before Jacob died, this was some of the things that he was championing. And many of the issues that now is coming up that seemingly you'll raise on the floor tomorrow. How different will this be? This is what people are asking.
Well, I want to agree with you that the late Jacob Olanya was very passionate about issues of health, like you cited, particularly on nodding syndrome. And it is unfortunate that from the time he passed on to date, when you look at the key resolutions that were arrived at during the regional council sittings that took place in Omoro district before he was finally laid to rest, the issues that were resolved on, one of them was on reopening the nodding syndrome centers to care for the nodding syndrome children. And of course, I remember in several engagements with key stakeholders and high-profile people in government, including the president, while we're at Baralege, at his country home, and again here in Gulu City, while he was on his tour, when he came to Gulu to speak about wealth creation. We have always emphasized and repeated this matter to the attention of all those who are concerned, including the president, of reopening these nodding syndrome centers to care for the children of nodding. And this has been in line with the dream of Jacob Olanya and what he has been speaking very profoundly about. And then I want to believe that the sitting in Gulu will be able to, especially for the ministers, I pray that they come. I pray that they really come. I want to believe that these regional sittings is going to give a push to the ministers to deliver to their mandates. And I am happy that on the order paper, we have a report that is going to be presented by the Minister of State for Northern Uganda on the state of affairs of Northern region. And these are some of the salient issues that we expect to be captured in the report. And we expect and shall demand commitment from the line ministries, particularly on the issues of nodding syndrome. I remember while we were at Baralege speaking to the President on this matter, our plea was that this center be opened and then the facilities be uplifted to a health center 3 status, of course with additional component of caregiving aspect, so that they are able to also provide extra care for the nodding syndrome children, because they are not able to be attended to home by their parents. And we expected this to surface in the Ministry of Health priority, which did not. And of course, at the level of budgeting, we were able to point this out to the ministries, but unfortunately it didn't come from the priorities of the executive. So I want to, of course, members could agree with us that during the budgeting process of this year, if you all do remember, our dear viewers, that is the first time that the budget appropriation bill was returned to Parliament. And members were criticizing Parliament for making adjustments in the budget. But some of these adjustments, if you look critically and keenly, was focusing on matters of health, matters of education, which includes matters like we are referring to of nodding syndrome. But unfortunately, when you look at what happened, the return of the appropriation bill had to be centered really on the priorities of the executive. That means this matter was not prioritized by the executive. So during the regional sitting that is going to take place in Gulu, I really want to believe that we will be able to secure commitments from the ministers.
I'm coming back on that, Honorable Catherine. Let me go back to studio, to Simon, because we have some guests in the studio as well. I'll come back on the issues of impact, on the issues, some of the key issues that really must be addressed, and also aftermath of this parliament. How would it look like for Laos sub-region, West Nile sub-region, Karamoja and Acholi sub-region? Simon, let me get back to you in the studio.
Well, a very interesting conversation, and we still want to explore what is at the heart of the outrage and, of course, the statements that are flying all over. Acholi MPs, you'd generally say MPs from Northern Uganda have looked at this as an opportunity to uplift the welfare of the people. We need to examine this as well. Will it really be a game changer for Northern Uganda? And well, there are also analysts who are looking at it as a complete waste. How do we count the cost of this sitting? I'm joined by Godba Tumushabe, member of the civil society, a political and policy analyst.
Just a citizen of Uganda. Civil society, is it a tribe or what? Member of civil society.
Well,
what is that?
you've cut your mark in civil society.
Yeah, but you see, nobody can be a member of civil society, because every Ugandan should be a member of civil society. So when you get a group and go to civil society and keep it there, that's a wrong narrative.
Well, good to have you, and we'll also be joined by Honorable Dan Chimosho, Member of Parliament from Kazo. He should be traveling after the show. But well, good to see you.
Thank you. Good morning.
See, that's why God quarreled with you.
Eh? Yeah.
Starting to put your assumptions.
Yeah.
Okay, are you a boycotter? For the record.
That is a good question.
Are you a boycotter?
No, I wanted to state it by myself that I'll be traveling.
Okay, good. Very good. Good, but help us understand all this hula-baloo about Parliament sitting in a region. I mean, it's raised a lot of dust. People are looking at costs. People are looking at wasteful expenditure. Is it what the country should focus on, or the agenda and the benefits that accrue from such sittings?
I really look at what's happening here in a very, very, very broad perspective in terms of what has happened to our parliament. At a general level, I would say that going for these things they are calling regional sittings, I call it some level of redundancy, that the parliament is basically redundant. It has gotten a thorough beating from its excesses in terms of the speaker proliferating money from the taxpayers, in terms of the the parliament not attending to the issues that affect the country. And therefore, really the rating of parliament right now, if we had institutions that do opinion polls, you could see that probably parliament could be the institution that has the lowest rating from citizens. So, the parliament is really in bad shape. Number two, it's redundant because it has abandoned its agenda in terms of like the power it has. It has ceded the power to parliament. But number three, at a very, very strategic political level, I see what's going on really as more of the extension of President Museveni's campaign for the 2026 elections. Because if you are parliament, you are sitting in any part of the country, I don't understand how you make, you get the president then to be acting like another MP. Because as a matter of fact,
He will be addressing parliament.
yeah, that's the
In
whole point.
Gulu,
Is there some emergency that has happened? Because all we know in terms of our legal framework, the time when the president addresses parliament is during the State of the Nation address, or there is some emergency. So I don't see the value, the utility of the president going to address a parliament in Gulu. What is his interest? Because he's not an MP. What is his interest? What the parliament has done, and because I always call this a conspiracy, that what has happened in this country now is that the parliament and the legislature and the executive have been conspiring to really fleece off Ugandan taxpayers. In fact, I even imagine that the frugality that Museveni has advocated for ever since COVID, if Museveni did not see a personal benefit from these sittings where he is called to address, most likely he would even not approve that money. Because you see, we have a country that is reeling in debt, a government that cannot provide proper health care for its citizens, a government that has failed to get our children to school, because as I've said, we don't have...
You seem to be dwelling more on the peripherals, and that is more about expenditure. Yet the agenda clearly stipulates that there will be a plenary sitting. Wouldn't you rather focus on what they're going to discuss?
The entire structure of the legislature is that you bring the citizens to parliament. So the reason the people of Kazo have Dan in parliament is because Dan is supposed to bring their views to parliament. If you're thinking of going to sit in Kazo, it means that Dan actually has failed. So what these sittings are actually doing is to say that the structure of parliament that we have, with all these MPs and a multitude of them, means that they have failed to bring their issues to the parliament for debate and resolution, and now the parliament has to go to the people themselves. But all this that we are looking at is really, I think it's some form of redundancy, but also I think it's a very good strategy for the president to do his campaigns, because that's what he has been doing. You basically create formal processes where you use taxpayers' money to be able to campaign, because the president is not an MP. The mere fact that you see him there,
yes,
that this is really organized for him.
Well, Honorable Dan, does it really make sense for you to warm up to Gulu amidst the public outrage and the sentiment? For instance, I believe the sentiment of Godba is very popular out there.
Thank you very much, Kagwa, and my senior brother, Godba, for this discussion, and our dear viewers. What do you choose to call public outrage? Have you seen the...
You've tested the barometer out there.
Have you seen the opinions of the people of northern Uganda about that sitting?
Divided. There's no consensus.
Isn't that
There's a group of legislators from northern Uganda.
Isn't that public? Why do you choose a public to champion in this? Anyway, now, for me, I request the public and my brother here, Godba, as part of the public, the outraged public, to examine more of this on the spirit. In which spirit are we going to have regional parliamentary sittings? And I say
And the
this,
cost.
I say this not because I pretend to speak on behalf of Parliament. I give my personal opinion as Chimosho and a member of Parliament. The spirit in which this idea was started is a spirit of creating a people-centered parliament. Now, I know when we reach there, someone will say people-centered may not necessarily mean to go down. It may mean to address the issues that affect the people. Yeah, but at some point the two converge. And when they converge, what we've been doing is putting forward the issues that affect people at parliament level in Kampala. And we thought it is very important to go down to these regions and have a concentration on the issues affecting a particular region. It has been a build-up. We have had several committees go around these regions, for example, northern Uganda, looking at infrastructure, looking at areas of environment, looking at issues and many other issues, depending on the sector within which they fall. It is going to be the first time in the history of Parliament, while my brother chooses to call it redundancy, it is the very first time when we'll have time, for example, in northern Uganda, to discuss for 2 days issues pertaining to northern Uganda.
You want to suggest that
The
hitherto
uniqueness.
you've not had a grasp
The uniqueness.
of issues of northern
No,
Uganda.
not the grasp, by the way.
But
Not the
you
grasp.
want to suggest that
Not-
the MPs have not been
not
forwarding the
grasp.
issues of their
I'll
constituents?
tell you the dynamics. For 2 days, we'll be concentrating on issues affecting the northern Uganda. And these issues, the uniqueness in this, while Godba chooses to say that the president is campaigning, for me I see it as an opportunity that the whole government, in almost its entirety, will be in northern Uganda. The uniqueness in this, because the president is around, the ministers that have been absent will also be present.
Do
Wait,
you consider the cost?
wait. How much is it? Do you know the cost?
Okay.
How much do you spend when we got
It's
Kololo?
been estimated at 5 billion.
That is-
because
that-
look
that
at
is-
it this way: 400,000 per MP for 4 days.
That is also a speculation because we have had parliament.
Dan, you're an MP. Tell
we have had-
Ugandans
we
how
have-
much will it cost?
We have had sittings outside that parliament. In Kololo, for example, we have had the same arrangement that you see in Gulu
So how much will it
has
cost?
happened in Kololo. I'll come to that.
No.
Yes, do you have
I'll
an
come-
estimate?
I'll come to that.
Let him tell us because
I'll come to that.
Yeah.
We have had the same sittings in Kololo, and in those sittings, the same arrangement you see in Gulu applies, for example, when we're in Kololo. And on average, for example, I think now that we're in Gulu, you estimate to spend maybe 3 billion maximum. I didn't follow
That's
it to
quite a sum.
I didn't
That's
follow
quite a
it.
sum.
I didn't follow it to the logical conclusion, but in the planning processes, I had overheard around the figure of 3-point-something billion. Now, Njala, and I was still driving my point, and you diverted me. And I'm saying all the ministers and the technical people will be in northern Uganda for this particular sitting. And what I anticipate is that all the issues that we capture, and because everyone is in attendance, they will form a big agenda of the next planning of the government.
Okay. Like Godba
Now-
was asking, don't you find it awkward that the president will be addressing parliament? Under what circumstances is this happening?
Does it offend any law?
So
not-
let
I'm
me
not-
explain.
I'm not
Let me
sure.
ex-
Now,
let me
if it
explain.
doesn't-
I'm not sure.
I
Yes,
would
he's
want
a
to-
lawyer.
No, no,
He's
I would
a
want to
lawyer.
explain to you how to.
Maybe you note it down, then you'll explain.
Okay.
For me, if it doesn't offend any law, then it's okay. Because he will be present. And for me, his presence adds value. Because then, when he's present, all his lieutenants, in this case, for example, the ministers, will all be present. Which may be a different case when he's not present. And when he's present and his lieutenants are present, then the issue of decision making on specific issues
So we are saying
that
the
affect-
executive and the legislature have now been fused.
No. That doesn't mean fusing.
Isn't this compromising the independence of the legislature?
Naturally, the three arms of government are supposed to work together. And please don't be tempted to confuse working together for a fusion. Because while they are supposed to be independent of each other, they are supposed to work together.
Why?
The budgeting process is driven by the executive.
Okay.
But the parliament, in the appropriation function, has a great input in the process of budgeting.
What
cannot
merits
call
the
that.
president's address to Parliament?
Sorry?
Specifically for the Gulu event.
Sorry?
Why would the president move all the way to Gulu to speak to Parliament? Is there an emergency?
He has been invited by Parliament to speak to Parliament. And we have agreed, you and I, where Godba comes in to tell us which law is offended, that there is nothing in law that is offended. And if there is nothing, and we find, and Parliament as an institution finds that there is value addition to that effect, there is no wrongdoing in inviting the president.
Okay. To what extent does the boycott of the opposition render this meeting sinister?
You see, it is two-way. It's how you want to look at opposition. Maybe you say, nope. Because I have seen opposition members, like you have seen, boarding buses, going to Gulu. Some have reached earlier than some of us NRM members. Some reached yesterday, earlier than some of us NRM members. What the people that have seen that are opposed to this are NUP members, but also they are in their own right and functionality. They are right to do that because they are supposed to oppose. If in their opinion, they found this a matter that they can oppose and ride on, it is well with them. They can still oppose. But as...
Do you think the opposition is popular? The opposition to this meeting?
Sorry?
Do you think the opposition to this meeting is popular?
That would need to assess. Godba believes in research. We can assess it. Popular where? I am sure it cannot be popular in northern Uganda. It can be popular in some parts of central Uganda. So it's where you stand and how you want to analyze it. But also, now speaking as if I were not a member of parliament and as if I'm not in NRM, it is a tactical error for them. Because assessing on the excitement in northern Uganda about this parliamentary sitting, and considering the fact that we are left with very few months to start moving around the country, galvanizing for support, you don't want to be seen to sabotage something that they have high expectations in. So, where they may excite some elites in the central Uganda and some patches of the elites in the country, if you are going to the real voting patterns in northern Uganda, how do their actions contribute to the big agenda of driving
but you'll allow me to take a
narrative?
very short break, and when we return, you'll be making a rebuttal on some of the issues that Dan raises, especially on the matter of the president's address to MPs and what the boycott means, whether it really makes sense to boycott an event that is already on the parliamentary calendar. That and much more after the break. Good morning. Well, we continue discussion on the Gulu parliamentary sitting and all the fuss, the hullabaloo it's creating around the country. But before I get back to my guests, let's first connect with Benson Ongom from Gulu. Benson, quite a number of issues are being raised by my guests in the studio. Godba says there is redundancy and the president is launching his campaigns in Gulu. Continuing his campaigns in Gulu. Could one of your guests weigh in on this?
Again, that's a question I'll put to my guests. Let me start with Catherine before I go to Honorable Mapinduzi. The guests in the studio, but also the thinking of many Ugandans, think the regional parliament is a campaign. And since also the president will be on Thursday, many are thinking. Godboy in the studio says this is a process of campaign ahead of the elections.
Well, this is a new one again. I don't think it is a process of campaign, in my opinion. Well, if one is saying that it is an approach Parliament is using to popularize Parliament, to draw people closer, to start following Parliament, yes, I agree to that. Because when you look at our people, people don't attend Parliament so much. They tend not to follow what happens in Parliament so much. And to have a people-centered Parliament means people should follow what happens in Parliament. People should be interested in what we discuss in Parliament. And this will make the voters make their leaders more accountable to them. And so this approach of bringing Parliament closer to the regions, to the people, is an approach that will interest people to start also following what happens in Parliament, and probably will make them start holding their leaders more accountable.
I mean, Honorable Catherine, today you have a rally as well. Yeah. So isn't that part of the campaigns?
When you look at what is going to happen, you know, once people talk about rally, people think it is a rally to speak about some candidate or to win the interest of people towards someone. But here we are having the Speaker of Parliament come to launch a radio, Omoro FM. And basically, there is no way she can walk in the studio and just cut the tape and say the radio is commissioned or ready to start working. After that, she has to make statements to the public. And that is the mini rally we are having, for her to make public statement to the public about launching the radio, the Omoro FM, that the people have been yearning for. And definitely she will have time to respond to the resolutions that were made during the regional council sitting when we were sending off the late Jacob Olanya. So for us, the key issues that will be handled in today's mini rally, as she gets to interact with the people, people are expecting her response about the resolutions that were made during the regional council sitting before the late Jacob Olanya was sent off finally.
Honorable Jara Martin Mapinduzi, does it bother you that some Ugandans think you're wasting money? Some Ugandan thinks you're doing public relation for Parliament. That the issue that you could have debated in Kampala, but you've also had arguments that you are saying, and some of the members from this region, they're discussing regional issues. Others are saying Parliament has sat in Kampala since independence. And Kampala is the way you see it. I mean, you stay in Kampala longer than me. Is it a PR for Parliament? Is it really the issues of the region? But does it bother you?
First, I would think that it shouldn't be a problem for Parliament to sit anywhere within Uganda, just like it has been sitting for several decades in Kampala. Why should it become a problem when Parliament decides to sit in Gulu and it's not a problem in Kampala? Why is it a problem when Parliament decides to go to Masaka or Mbale or Mbarara and it's not a problem in Kampala? I think we just need to, of course people are entitled to their opinion. You can express the way you feel, which is understandable. But I will tell you that the angle from where this is being brought is in bad faith, because many people think when the leader of the opposition says Parliament is going to spend so much, they take it as a gospel truth. They don't go deeper to ask very legitimate questions. Because I have tried to ask, and I can authoritatively say that it's a concoction, it's a woodwink. The bottom line, just like some people are saying, you know, maybe this is a campaign strategy, because it's you know, some people know it's very easy to make Ugandans angry when you say it's going to cost this much. They don't go to explain whether it's true or not true. They don't go to provide documentary evidence. And again, if it's about spending money, Parliament every year spends so much money because it has an approved budget every financial year from Kampala. It's not a problem, because if Parliament is doing its job, that is okay. But you see, there is no way I can support any form of wastage of public funds. But I have looked critically, and I can tell you, the discussion, this statement is starting now. The decision for Parliament sitting in the different regions did not start today. It has been first when Honorable Jacob became Speaker. He said he would want this Parliament to be a people-centered Parliament, and he would want Parliament to move closer to the people, not just by word.
But do you think people are also mistaking his word? Because if you're saying people-centered, and Jacob said people-centered,
you see, there are different
people's
ways.
issues.
Look here, there are different ways people Parliament can move closer to the people. It doesn't necessarily mean going to maybe a sub-county and so on. But Parliament can decide. We have always sat, you know, in Kololo. And when Parliament sits in Kololo, there are financial implications, okay? And if the question is whether it's going to be slightly above what is spent in Kololo, having it in Gulu, then that is a discussion. But for you to say Parliament is going to spend 20 billion, I think that is purely politics.
Honorable Jara Martin, do you think Parliament is dealing with the question of mistrust from people to Parliament, even when they try to do things that seemingly to you members of Parliament is correct or right, but still it's perceived in a wrong way? Is it a trust issue? Is it a leadership issue? Is it a management issue? What is it?
You know, we are dealing with, and this is politics. There are people who have got different interests, and they are coming from different, you know, groups. There are those who think this is a political, you know, strategy by the NRM, and so they will try to paint it dirty. There are those who think this is a strategy by Parliament to do, others call it damage control, or, you know, kind of PR strategy. As a leader from Northern Uganda, I look at it differently, and I respect people who look at it the way they do, but I also have to put it clear how I look at it. Number one, it is an opportunity. You cannot believe the amount of focus that has been given to Northern Uganda. You cannot believe how many committees of Parliament have been in Northern Uganda, you know, deliberately, to look at the nitty-gritties, the details in as far as the different sectors are concerned. And to me, this is an opportunity. It will have long-term impact, because we are getting into the planning circle, the budgeting processes. The president is going to be here maybe on Thursday or so. When the president is here, a lot of the issues that are being captured from Northern Uganda will find their way into the budgeting process.
Just in 1 minute with you, Honorable Mapenduzi, you are the chairman.
Yes.
And even when you were a member of Parliament, I remember interviewing you a couple of times about some of the issues you're talking about. And you have raised some of these issues in Parliament.
Okay,
the question now, what happens?
My nephew, let me help you. Number one, we shouldn't get tired of talking about the things that affect our people. Whether we have talked about it in Kampala or we are going to talk about the same thing here, we shouldn't get tired, because that is our responsibility. And and you shouldn't say we have been talking and nothing happens. There's been a lot going on. There are a lot of programs, a lot of intervention, but we are not going to get tired. We are going to, because that is our role. So the talking will continue, but I am also confident that at every stage when we push harder, there are progresses that are made, and that is leadership. Yeah.
1 minute. Honorable Catherine Lamora, in 1 minute or so, do you expect any difference? Will I interview you after 1 year or 6 months on some of the issue resolution you'll have in Gulu, and you will say, Benson, this was done? Because as we do understand, some of the issues we'll raise, we'll have to wait for next year's budget. There's no affirmative action or money that has been put aside to implement some of the issues that will be raised by you members of parliament.
Well, I want to believe that there will be a difference after this, because I've been very keenly watching at the undertakings that has been on from the time when the decision to move Parliament to come and sit to the region has been. The committee activities were all centered around the region, northern region, because the sitting is in the region. I have just read through the order paper. It is structured in a manner that is focusing at northern region, all the issues. And so the committee chairpersons that have been in the field, their presentations on issues are going to be basically issues in northern region. That is going to give very adequate time for us to discuss very exhaustively on these issues and have resolutions of Parliament over them. And definitely, I strongly believe that this is going to bring in a new approach of doing things probably better, because definitely we are going to get to know a lot deeper, even members of Parliament who may not be coming from these particular regions. They will be able to know a lot better about what the challenges in these particular regions. And so when we move finally at the last stage of having all the resolutions put together of Parliament from the regional sittings, this should be able to inform better even the processes of planning as we move forward. And I strongly believe that this is going to give us a new focus that will add on to what we have been doing before during our planning processes and how we've been doing things so that we are able to realize impact. The coming of the President on Thursday, you commented about it as I wind up. I think the public should know that the President has been attending parliamentary sittings. Even in Kololo, he's been attending. So this is not something new to us, just like he's been attending parliamentary sittings, and when he's invited by the Speaker, the law is very clear, he comes to address Parliament. When he opts to address Parliament, he notifies the Speaker and he comes and addresses Parliament. So this is not something very new, and for me I am happy that he's coming for these regional sittings. He will be able also to interface with some of the issues directly. So I strongly believe that this approach will help us a lot in achieving.
Thank you so much, Honorable Catherine Lamaga, for speaking to us this morning. And thank you, our host, Honorable Jara Martin Mapenduzi. We definitely hope that the deliberations will heal food, but also we hope that you will sit as the caucus of regional parliamentary groups, either Chole Parliamentary, Lao, Karamoja, and West Nile, and settle some of the things before tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Our assurance.
Thank you.
And let me welcome the rest of the people who have, just in 1 second. And, well, if it's 1 second, it's done. But please, welcome to Gulu.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Simon, definitely you've heard from the two members of Parliament. The question, is it on campaigns, on impact, on bringing Parliament closer to people? Again, we're going to have this discussion. Parliament will start tomorrow. Some of the issues that will be raised, we will be able to bring it to our viewers in the entire country. Back to you, Simon.
Well, thank you very much, Benson Ongom, and regards to your guests that side. Straight to Godba. Honorable Chimosho raises quite a number of pertinent issues. One, it is not illegal for Parliament to invite the President. No law is offended in this case. Two, there is an impression out there that this is a protracted blackmail campaign against Parliament, that Parliament is never right in anything they do. Perhaps you could weigh in here.
Yeah, I mean, let me just very quickly comment on the two things that have been raised by my brother Mapenduzi and my sister Catherine. One, Martin says he would never support wasting public funds. I think for people like Martin and others, they need to appreciate that there are certain things that you do unconsciously. You are subconscious. There is a certain level of political consciousness that allows you to think deeper beyond what you see on the surface. So while you can easily declare and say, I can't waste public funds, you can actually engage in activities you legitimately think they are okay, but at the end of the day, you are doing the wrong thing that you are talking about against.
Unconsciously.
Unconsciously. It happens for all of us because we are human. What is happening is, if you think of the fact that we have Acholi parliamentary group, these are all the MPs from Acholi. So in other words, you can have the issues of Acholi discussed in the parliament to the level of detail that you want. So,
and there is parliament in Gulu.
Yes.
By the proclamation of the speaker, there will be parliament in a tent.
There will be parliament in a tent. But essentially, the point I'm making, this ties into what Catherine says, that we are bringing parliament close to the people. This agenda has been there. One of the activities which are still paid by Ugandan taxpayers is the program, the broadcasting of parliamentary sessions. So people can go on TV and follow what is going on in Parliament. I think, to my sister Catherine, it is important to understand that this country has shifted too much to form and forgotten substance. So bringing Parliament closer to the people has nothing to do with the physical connectedness of the Parliament and the citizens. It is more about the substance. If there was a Marshall Plan for the transformation of northern Uganda, you don't need to go and discuss it in northern Uganda. You can sit in Parliament in Kampala here and discuss a Marshall Plan for transforming northern Uganda and show how you are going to transform the education system, the health system, the agriculture system, and the like. So members of Parliament are supposed to be sophisticated enough to understand that taking Parliament closer to the citizens has nothing to do with the form. What is the substance? In the entire discussion, by the way, from the time this whole thing of regional sittings came about, nobody has discussed the substance of the discussions. In northern Uganda, what is the substance? When you go to Ankole, what is the substance? When you go to Bunyoro, what is the substance? Everything is about form, taking Parliament closer to the people.
But does boycott make sense?
Boycott.
And isn't it sheer hypocrisy for legislators to boycott when they have already been given money, facilitated?
The problem we have now as a country is to discuss things as if we are operating in a normal environment. So in other words, when you assume that everything is normal, we are operating in a parliamentary democracy where institutions of state are accountable to each other, where they are not captured, what Dan calls working together, then you are able to ask those questions of, isn't this hypocrisy? In other words, in the current political context and the brokenness of our politics, every politician can do anything. Remember that
money has been remitted onto accounts of MPs, and they are boycotting.
But money was paid to MPs to remove term limits from the Constitution. Money was paid to vote for age limit. Money was paid to vote for mobile money tax.
That wasn't on the parliamentary budget. But from the parliamentary budget.
It doesn't matter, Simon. What matters is that we are operating in a broken system. That's what matters. Remember, what is the last thing that Anita Among did? By the way, I can say confidently that one of our biggest problems now as a country is the lady called Anita Among.
That's personal.
No, it's not personal. Anita Among, I'm talking about Anita Among, the Speaker of the Parliament of Uganda. There is Anita Among, the Ugandan, who is like me and you. There is Anita Among, who is the Speaker of the Parliament of Uganda. That lady has basically sold the legislature to the executive. I think the lowest point for me in the democratization of this country, and where I saw that we have really gotten so low, is where Anita Among goes and kneels before President Museveni as if he's a little girl. A Speaker of Parliament anywhere in this world. I don't understand why Ugandans don't even appreciate their power. If I am the head of the legislature, I am the head of the judiciary, Practically, everybody knows that these are two equal arms of the state. You can't go as Chief Justice and kneel before a president or kneel before the Speaker of Parliament. So all that you are seeing in Gulu for me, and what you are seeing as this agenda, is actually Anita Among more or less like acting as the campaign chief of President Museveni. Let me just add one point.
In a minute, yeah.
Yes, let me add one point. The current parliament, as it's constituted now, we know where it came from, we know where the leadership of parliament came from. There are challenges that are facing this country. Our democracy is at risk. It has been completely degraded by just dismantling our constitutional architecture. A serious parliament would be focusing on what do we do our constitutional system. We are a country that kills people to elect a president. We are a country that arrests and tortures people to elect a president. The parliament of Uganda should be focused on that. We are a country, like I've said before.
You've not interested yourself in the agenda.
No, we are a country that like I've said before, that you have, for almost the last about 15 years, you have over 26 million children that did not reach primary 7. The parliament should be focused on those. Those children, they are in Gulu, they are in Ankole, they are in Bunyoro, they are in Buganda, they are elsewhere, everywhere. So when you are the legislature, you need to be focused on that, and you don't need to go to Ankole to make sure that the children go to school. Let me end by saying, if, for example, these guys were in Gulu and they are debating a budget for Gulu, for Acholi region, and said, this is how we are going to allocate this money, this is what it's going to do, maybe I would begin to give them an ear. But right now, this is just a level of redundancy that has been demonstrated by Parliament over time.
Honorable Chimosho, all said and done, do you agree that the image of Parliament looks bad and nothing can be done to sanitize it, that even whatever you do is wrong?
You see, you invited me with the wrong person.
Are you sure?
No, a right person with the wrong views.
No, I would substantiate, because it's not the person I would want to go head on with. So when I'm discussing, I always tread on the periphery.
Why are you
Because I would first challenge him, if it was any other. That I know I've been following Godba, and he's a person that, at a personal level, that I like. And that is no crime, whether we converge or never converge in ideas. The Godba I know in civil society was so active during the the enactment of oil laws. I remember him engaging Parliament.
Yeah.
There is where I was a beneficiary, where he invited Parliament in, I think, Chobe, and that time I was a journalist, and we were there for a week, engaging Parliament. And
he took Parliament to Chobe.
Yes, I was there.
Members of Parliament.
You took members of Parliament.
You took Parliament to Chobe.
Remember, so you're saying the Parliament is copying me.
I'm not in the line of Kagwa to vulgarize anything.
Okay.
I actually credit him for that, because there was an engagement. And in that engagement, 1, 2, 3, 4 people come back and engage the other bigger parliament. And in the process, 1, 2 things change. Where did that Godba go in civil society? Where did the voice of civil society go, and the activeness? I am certain he will give some excuses, but he misses the other parliaments he's talking about. I miss my Godba and the civil. I don't feel Godba. I feel Godba, my friend, my elder brother. I miss the other Godba, the organic civil society Godba.
Well.
2. No. You gave him 5 minutes. Now, there's something I wanted to rectify among needing for President Museveni. My elder brother had talked about form and substance. I think this is form, because a 48-year-old needing for an 82 in our culture is acceptable. And I don't think it would change anything in terms of substance on how Parliament runs.
She was being Anita, not Speaker.
She was being Anita, the daughter of Museveni, not Anita among the Speaker. Lastly, The boycott is a real, and the Godubine also should have been candid enough, even when he doesn't like our ways as parliament, should have been candid enough to condemn the boycotters, who even find it difficult. Kagwa.
Yeah, Honorable Kagwa.
Yes. Because now, the level of hypocrisy in this country, and that's why I lose hope, even for those who pretend they're in opposition. I tend to this same category, if you find them scampering for trips to Kenya, to Rwanda, to America, they can literally kill to travel on parliament money.
No, on Ugandan taxpayers' money.
That is it. I'm saying that is true. And they find it is a wastage to go to Guru. Of what, if I'm spending in Guru, the taxpayers' money, and you who fight spend, you find it right to spend it in America, who is more dangerous to this country? This is the boycotters.
But we need to get, Dan, we need to get out of here.
The boycotters are big hypocrites. They are just praying to the gallery. There are many and better ways to address their issues. And for us who work with them, we know what they stand for, bigger than the picture they present on screens.
Well, we're getting out of here, but what is glaring is that Parliament has remained indifferent to the noise out there. Right?
But Parliament is you and I. You are contesting to come, and you will come. And Godba, actually, I wanted to encourage Godba that now civil society has decided to maybe get out. Let him come to Parliament.
Well, that's all we had for you this morning. Let the conversation continue on all our socials. What is the good, the bad, and the ugly about the sitting in Gulu as it takes shape? As we speak, a number of legislators from both sides of the aisle have already traveled to Gulu. What do we expect? What's the good, the bad, and the ugly? Good morning.